Stardew Valley has stepped into the lives of many a cozy farming sim fan over the years, acting as a wholesome, safe retreat away from the harsh realities of real life. Yet, as many of us have discovered throughout our many endless hours in the game, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's actually some pretty deep and concerning lore behind its heartwarming exterior. And yes, of course, we've already had a look through this game as a whole, but oh, there's so much more. Let's take a look at one of the characters that's more divisive in the community, and that is Clint. As I'm sure you're very well aware, Clint is the blacksmith of Pelican Town, just like his father before him. His birthday is on the 26th day of winter, with developer ConcernedApe putting his age in the range of 30s to 40s. Gifts on his favourites list include Amethyst, Artichoke dip, and Iridium bars, with holly being his most hated gift, besides the universally hated gifts, of course. So, what about this guy has pushed players to mod him out of the game, and even create a hate subreddit out of rage? Was it the sheer audacity that he has in gifting the player some kind of geode at the Feast of the Winter Star, you know, that they have to pay him to open? Let's get into it. But first, if you're new here, hi, welcome in. If you like cozy gaming and the darker side of cozy games, or just maybe quirky games in general, then be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can come back for the next one. Anyway, even if you've not spent much time around Clint himself, there's likely one fact that you do know about him, and that's his mega crush on resident blue-haired crystal girlie, Emily. Even a player that's been safely distanced from the guy will receive that letter in the mail on Winter 6th, asking for them to deliver an amethyst to Emily on his behalf, as he's too awkward to deliver it himself. Of course, Emily just thinks it's from you and kind of misunderstands the whole situation, which is probably for the best. This isn't something that's inherently creepy in itself, but we'll just get there. Clint's schedule seems to revolve around visiting the Stardrop Saloon, where, coincidentally, Emily works as a waitress, meaning that he just so happens to be there while she's working, to stare at her while she's on shift. In Clint's 3-heart event, the player can find him sitting in the saloon on said Emily watch, when he complains to them that he has no luck with the ladies, prompting you to offer him some words of encouragement before Emily comes over to take his order. He screws this up and ends off the interaction with a "never mind" before she moves off. Again, in itself, not too incriminating, right? He's just an awkward guy with a bit of a crush. Let's now take a look at a bit of a sussy note that can be found in his bedroom. It gives us a bit more of a look into his, well, more of an obsession level connection to Emily. This note can be found on the floor near the door of his bedroom. It reads, "Dear Emily, I know you only think of me as a friend. It's my fault. I'm too shy. I'll never have the courage to tell you the truth. That's why I'm writing this letter to myself, that I'll certainly crumple up and toss in the corner." Personally, it just gives off creepy vibes to me. I don't know, he must be pretty torn up over her to be writing things down, spilling his feelings, yet she's just out there, presumably completely unaware of all of this. Earlier on today, I spent a bit of time on my currently year 3 winter farm and took part in the Festival of Ice, with Clint unfortunately already very much on my brain, and then noticing him around Emily, naturally I decided to go and have a chat. His dialogue line for this sitch was, "Emily started helping me out with any provocation. Does this mean something? Gulp." So she presumably just saw him struggling to build that snowman or something, and came over to, you know, lend a hand. Basically, careful if you blink near Clint. He might think you're coming on to him. Now, onto Clint's 6-heart event. In this one you find, well, Clint watching Emily from behind a bush. Not creepy at all there, mate. He insists to the player that he'd arrived at her house to ask her on a date, but was startled by the sound of her coming out of the door before he was quite there. So he dove into a bush and had been waiting there ever since for her to leave the area, so that he could sneak off unnoticed. Convenient. You will then threaten Clint by saying that you'll no longer upgrade your tools with him if he doesn't get out and ask Emily on that date. Which he hesitantly does. I mean, props to him. He asks her if she'd visit the Grampleton Carnival with him the next day, and she accepts. So I guess she's either unaware of his obsession or unfazed by it. For this one to play out, of course, the player must not be married to Emily or be past a certain heart level with her. On the topic of heart events, I think it's rather interesting to note that at Clint's 7th heart, the player will receive a recipe for bean hot pot from him in the mail. Emily will commonly ask the player, "Do you know how to cook bean hot pot? I like that dish quite a bit. It's hard to get fresh ingredients in the winter." And although there's nothing too off here, the Clint have discovered her taste for the dish through his spying and learned it to impress her, it does make me wonder. One final heart event deserving of a mention here is Emily's 8-heart one. The event takes place in Mayor Lewis's house after the player receives the following note. "Player, I have this crazy new idea that I want to involve you in. It's called clothing therapy. Please come to the mayor's house today to see what it's all about. Love, Emily." Basically, Emily attempts to give a few of the villagers a little makeover in an attempt to get them to feel more comfortable in showing their true selves. Present are Mare Lewis, Shane, Abigail, Robin, and our boy, Clint. Once in full swing, Emily responds to this reluctant dress-up attempt with, "Ah, cute." Not something he particularly wanted to hear from the woman of his dreams. Once he's left the building, Emily approaches the player seemingly in a loving manner, when Clint bursts back in as he had been too uncomfortable outside in his new outfit. Emily jumps upon seeing him, to which he says that he guesses he's interrupting something, before congratulating the player. This is what really seems to rub the Stardew community up the wrong way here. Clint realistically treats Emily like a prize, something to be won, an object even. Moving away from heart events and into a life where the player has chosen to kick Clint in the dirt and marry Emily, screw you Clint. Does his behaviour change? Well, some believe not. However, I do have to defend him a tiny bit here, I guess. Players have pointed out their disgust at the sheer audacity of the guy. For example, he wonders aloud if Emily might dance with him at the annual flower dance, even when she's very much taken. Although I don't think we can really be too harsh here. NPCs, besides the spouse themselves, don't typically recognise marriage in Stardew Valley. They'll recycle lines from before the event, which is what Clint's doing here. He just doesn't have an updated line for post-marriage Emily. Hopefully, this is something we can see updated in a future version of the game. 1.6, I'm looking at you. Contrary to the belief that Clint's still going after Emily after the player has seen her 8-heart event, you know, the one where he congratulates you, Emily can say the following line during Fall. "I think Clint's mad at me. He never looks at me anymore. I always thought we were friends." Potentially further proving that he only ever really saw her as a prize and was never really wanting to invest in her for, well, her. But then again, maybe he's just too heartbroken to see her. So keeping that in mind, is Clint really deserving of all the hatred that he gets from the wider community, or is he just misunderstood? I think it's definitely also worth mentioning in here that Emily was never an original marriage candidate, but was rather added in later, along with Shane, after a community poll for 2 new romanceables. Clint did, surprisingly, not too great in these polls. I was genuinely shocked to discover though that people chose Shane over the wizard. Like, are you all okay? But anyway, with this in mind, Clint's defining character trait was his love for Emily, something that could potentially have been reciprocated in a future update if she hadn't been made available to the player. Clint kinda got left behind here, with his character remaining largely unchanged, even though her situation had evolved beyond it. Hey, something to consider. So perhaps he's simply just an awkward, albeit bit of a whiny guy who struggles to express himself and interact with others. Like, hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and same, you know? If his story with Emily ever did develop into anything, or they at least became friends, I don't necessarily think we'd be having this kind of conversation. Largely, I think it's his attitude that really turns people off of him. He's defeatist and feels like he's owed something. He feels as though the world's against him and it's not his fault. And that's something many of us have likely encountered in real life, so we don't really have the patience for it in our cozy safe place, potentially. Although, hang on, I will just add in one last point here that I don't think anyone can deny is a massive ick, an experience that only female farmers are graced with. If you're playing as a female farmer and, for whatever reason, decide to take Clint to the cinema, no judgment, not only will he hit you with a, "Oh, is this a date then?" but then also proceed to whisper, "If you're tired, you can put your head on my shoulder, heh, or not." Anyway, what's your opinion of Clint? Want to stay and keep Emily as far away as possible? Or think he's just a misunderstood little guy? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please consider dropping a like/subscribe down below, as it would really help me out. But anyway, until next time, goodbye for now.